All right. All right. So, hi guys, welcome to another version of our mom stories where we get to talk about real life pregnancy stories, and just like things that women don't get to share about because once that baby comes, it's all about the baby. And I'm here today with Annie, and I'm so excited to be here today with you, Annie. So people know my face, but please let people know who you are and how we're connected so we can chat a little bit about your pregnancy.
I'm Annie, and I know Diana through taking her Threes Physio course, and I think I was obsessed with her on Instagram. Remember, I'd be in the bathtub just staring at her daily post and be like, I really like this chick. I can digest your information very easily. You're approachable.
Thank
And
you.
I was eating you up. And then when I took your course, that enhanced even more. And then
So glad.
Diana actually helped me with some of my injuries. And then when I announced I was pregnant, we talked about that experience, and that's how this whole thing unfolded. And I felt very held by your expertise, and it kept me in line with taking care of myself, and maybe I wouldn't have. So that's
Yeah.
how we know each other. Yeah.
We sort of like lassoed you in and said, this is amazing that you're pregnant, but we we really want to work together with you on something.
Yeah. So that's where the magic happened. And I'm so happy about it. I still can't believe I'm saying I'm a mom. So when you said mom, I'm like, oh, yeah, that happened.
You're a mom. It's happened. You had a baby here.
I know. It's all a whirlwind.
Tell me, let's like talk a little bit about your pregnancy. So this is your first pregnancy, and I want to hear like what was like crazy, like what felt crazy, what felt so unexpected, what felt bananas to you, what really surprised you.
My legs, they had the heaviest legs. It felt so hard to walk and just I didn't feel grounded and they were exhausted. So in New York City, I still had my normal work schedule and I just was really fatigued and they were like sea legs, mushy. They felt like they'd give out on me. They never did. But I think that really surprised me. Other than that, the bookends of first trimester and third trimester, I was extremely fatigued. Second trimester, I was amped up. So thank God for that in between phase because I had a lot that I wanted to do, but the bookends were so tired. Like a lot of people don't sleep very well. So that the only surprise was the sea leg.
Yeah. So what did you do to help manage that? No one told you about that? Did you have swelling?
Not till after my labor. My legs looked normal. I slowed down. I took naps. I took
Yeah.
subways if I needed to. And I just was listening to my body, which was hard for me to slow down, but I didn't have the energy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's hard. I think that listening and slowing down is really hard. Really hard. That is totally unexpected for so many people who I think when they come into that pregnancy the first time are like, okay, I'm not in charge anymore.
Yeah, baby's boss. Baby is the boss from now on. So, but other than that, I got really big. I'm an older pregnant woman. I don't know what does it say, women of a certain age is what the OBs say. And so my belly got really big and that took some adjusting. And I felt like, and maybe people listening, you have imbalances in your body pre-pregnancy, and then that just enhances and you feel it more. And then again, post-pregnancy. So the checking in of how that is important to address sooner than later was a big reality check for me because now I'm feeling the later.
Yeah, oh, I want to hear
Yeah.
all about it. How long ago did you have your baby? Just for mine.
5 months.
You're 5 months postpartum. Do you want to talk about how your delivery was and like how you
Yeah.
pushed and how you were preparing to push and like what actually happened and how you texted me during the middle of labor?
Yeah. Always wanting advice. It's so first of all, I tend to be more on the anxious side. So talking to you and doing training helped me just know how to execute or have a plan. And I think you've also told me, and Kara, I remember you have a plan and then you have to throw it out the door. Like you don't know what's going to happen. So be flexible in that. I was induced. So that was a 2 days of induction. And then, so I think took a total of 53 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough. So if anyone wants to talk about induction stories, we could do a separate podcast about that or
Yeah.
interview. Anyway, so I did do an epidural. After 2 days of no pain medicine, I was done. I was exhausted. And
Yeah.
then
Oh my
So like
gosh.
the third
My
nurse was,
gosh.
I know, it sucked. It sucked. And then I was like 2 days in the labor room, the joining walls of women giving birth. And then one was like natural birth, and like I could hear her pain, and then you would hear the baby cry. And so I was like, oh, that's joyful. But just sitting there for 2 days was a little rough. Anyway, so it was time to push. I was going to have like this Indian tribal music going on, and then I just put on Pink Pony Club and became a party. Maybe the epidural has something to do with it. And my nurse that day was
Totally.
awesome. She was educated in positions and everything. So we play with positions,
That's
and
great.
then they tap my perineum, and I played with different ways of contracting based on the program. And I said, what is a more effective push? And my partner at the time, he was like, or he still is my partner. He was like, what are you doing? And I'm texting you. And I'm like, because I'm so curious. Like, how do we make this better? And
Yeah.
I think maybe he thought I'd just be in the moment and it'd be like beautiful. But I was like, no, what, how much time? What are we doing? So they told me when I really did the wrapping, the transverse corset cue, it was a much stronger push.
Versus,
Just pushing, just kind of
yeah,
like I feel like when you don't, you're not in it and you don't know how to contract, it's just kind of dispersed and it's not as strong. Here it felt like it was funneling the energy. We were all on the same page. And I think it took 30 minutes of pushing for me.
that's great. That's great. I think that's like pretty good for a first birth. Yeah. And so I
And
think
they gave me a mirror and they were like, do you want to see or not? I was like, no, I don't want to see. And then I want to see. And then as she was crowning, I was having a good time, all right? And I was like, is that a rat coming out of my pelvis? Like, because my daughter had all this hair. Oh, and then the nurses are like, I wish everyone would play music and have a good time. So it was a wonderful experience. I think they
so good.
loved that I was involved in how to push, and it felt like a
Hmm.
group effort.
That's amazing. That's amazing. The first birth, I had a major epidural, but she was back labor, so I couldn't focus on the pushing. My second birth was unmedicated, and he was a giant baby, and that was when I started realizing that I could push out of my vagina versus pushing out of my butt. And I think that's what you're talking about. It's like doing the TA contraction, the transverse abdominis contraction. You can actually push more out of your vagina. And he came out quickly. And actually, it was very traumatic, but that's a different story. And then by the third, my third kid just slid out. I mean, it was like one or two pushes. And again, that same like pushing out through my vagina versus pushing out through my butt. And I do think it makes a difference that you're doing more of a contraction. And I also preferred exhaling through the push. Like I did this crazy, like weird low tribal moaning type thing instead of holding my breath, which a lot of L&D nurses might tell us to do.
Hmm. Did you
Okay,
feel
so
like the
yeah,
epidural made it harder for you to contract and push based on the unmedicated birth?
I think probably. I think probably. Yeah, I mean, you just feel everything.
So that's where I think having those techniques prior,
Mm,
you know how to do it, even if you don't feel it, it'll
yeah.
help navigate that step.
Yeah. All right. So she's here and you made it through your pregnancy and we've talked about it and you delivered her. Let's also talk, I think, a little bit about how, like, our process of creating this program and you actually doing it, going through it, and how you think it helped. So you came to me and you told me you were pregnant, and I said, this is great. I think, Emily and I have been flirting with prenatal prehab for years, and this could be a great opportunity for us to finally create something that would help women, or pregnant people rather, work to build their bodies from the inside out smartly and do all the things that we wish we did to have a better postpartum and pregnancy. So I want to hear it from your perspective, how it felt to kind of go through all of those meetings and hours of editing and writing and then finally recording and doing. How was it for you?
Um, It helped me focus on myself. I had a lot of things going on, prepping for this, life changes. So it forced me in that. I'd always been very curious about prenatal, postnatal, but to experience it brought it to another level. And that was also on my agenda of experience. So it all was interwoven together, which I was stoked about. I think talking to you guys and experiencing it made it different because you know things and then you experience it. And I remember talking to you, you're like, are you walking like a duck? Are you gripping your toes? Are you flaring your ribs? So things that I did normally were enhanced and I was in a lot of pain. And then Diana was like, walk parallel. Are you getting hip extension when you walk? We talk about that in the program. So I took a lot of walks during my pregnancy and that helped me with my sanity and to address those issues. Um, I think the program uh, helped me balance the journey when I could have just done what I wanted to do, maybe be
Mm,
lazy or overdo something. So it gave me the structure, and I just had to execute what we had talked about. And each trimester, I think, for different people is different. I know I recorded most of the second, third trimester during my third trimester, which was pretty tough. I'm just talking, cueing, and exercising with the camera. I was like, oh my goodness. But I think the experience was valuable. And I don't know if people taking this program have kids already, but I had the attention span to really focus on myself and what we were trying to produce or accomplish. I think having not done that prior, being on the end of being a mom, I don't know if I would have the same attention span to focus on myself. Did I answer your question? I think like I'm all over the place, but
yeah.
I think it gave me the structure I needed when I didn't want to do certain things. It helped me really be aware of the changes that were happening and how to address the issues that came up because everyone's different. And I felt better when I did them. When I didn't do them, didn't feel so hot.
I think maybe we could talk a little bit about how this might have been different. So, like you said, you would kind of be on your own if you didn't have this structure. Like, what do you think you would have done differently if you didn't have this program in front of you? And what do you think was like essential learning?
So I had taken some classes that had nothing to do with this, and I love taking classes. I grew up as a dancer. That's like my home. And they felt great, but I don't feel like they gave me strength. Actually, one did, and I felt like she's a midwife and she knows about the strength. So we did a lot of squats and holding squats and breathing. And I think taking those classes, but there wasn't the structure that I needed to repeat to build that confidence, to build that habit, to build that strength. So I think I would have kind of been a little more scattered, some classes more helpful than others, and just kind of reaching rather than honing in and feeling grounded and confident in that. I don't think I would have been able to bounce back as quickly if I had been spread out because the 4 to 6 weeks after pregnancy, I remember thinking, I don't see my OB for 6 weeks after I give birth. That's crazy long. And then
Yeah.
when I experienced like the first 2 weeks sucked. But I was like picking up my daughter. I was going on to hands and knees. So, and now my parents are much more motivated to be fit because they want to hold her. And she's a big girl. She's a big eater. But even like going down to proposal, picking her up, how do I lift her up? I didn't have time to really take care of myself much in the first few weeks, but I felt strong from the prehab. And I don't think I would have had that before. And after being on the end, I realized how important it is.
What do you think people who don't have this knowledge, like this intrinsic knowledge of the body and the changes, like in the rib cage and the diaphragm and in their core and in their pelvic floor, like people just walk through pregnancy kind of just feeling maybe not so great and crappy, and they're maybe going to some prenatal yoga classes or some doing some online stuff that maybe isn't so structured. What do you think are going to be some like major aha moments for them taking the program? Some things that'll really either make them feel different during their pregnancy, or postpartum.
I think it's this subtle awareness of everything that's going on in the torso pelvic region. Um, I've done group classes my whole life. I love the sweat. I love the full body movement. But when you're on that table or you're birthing in a pool, whatever you're doing, all of this matters. So I think the fundamental classes where it takes time, where you're really discovering how to isolate the pelvic floor, how to contract. I think you will have aha moments. It takes time and you have to be patient, but it's worth it. And then it helps all the fitness so much better. You feel much more solid. And I think the sooner you can do it, the better. If you wait till post labor to experience this better then than never, but it's much more easy to figure that out sooner than later. And I've had clients that I worked with before I experienced pregnancy that if they dive in and they tune in, they definitely feel the benefits. But if you're not willing to go there, you're going to miss out.
Yeah.
You got to slow it down. You got to build your foundation and then you can do the fun fitnessy stuff after or build onto it. But you don't want to reach out from the fitnessy in. You want to go from the core out.
Yeah.
It's not
I
fun.
really,
It's not fun. It's annoying. It's like, like they say meditation's work. It's work. And you're not going to sweat while you're doing it. You're not going to get leaner doing it, but you're going to feel stronger and you're going to have so much better body control and
yeah.
recovery.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the reason why we wanted to do this is because we see so many people on the other end who have had a baby 6 months, 6 years, 16 years ago, who say things like, I don't even know, I don't feel my core. Like, what do you mean pull my abs in? Like, and then they're gripping their butt or squeezing their back or using their hip flexors. And you really, if you're not, and this is like the biggest disservice, I think, for pregnant people is that we're not telling people that if you aren't doing the core work during your pregnancy, if you're not focusing on connecting to it, your brain starts to rewire and your your brain actually stops using your core because it thinks the growing belly is somewhat almost like a trauma or a threat. So your brain's trying to protect you. And so that mindfulness piece of connecting to it, like just sitting around, you can sit, you can lay, and doing the work that you teach so beautifully in the program in an isolated way, and then starting to bring that into your day to day life. Like that's how you don't end up saying, I don't know how to connect to my core postpartum. And that's the thing we're striving to do. And I think you put in so many great like mobility classes and nerve flossing classes and constipation class.
So sexy.
But true, I mean,
Yeah.
these are all the things that we experience and we don't really have a whole lot of support. Every prenatal visit you go in, it's really about the baby and how is the baby growing, how's the baby tracking, what's the baby's heart rate, and what's your belly size. And maybe we say like, how are you feeling? And you might be
Are
like,
you
well, I'm
depressed?
tired.
That's what I heard. Are you
Yeah,
depressed?
right.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I heard that. I was warned about that. And then I went to a yoga class with my daughter and she fed the whole time. Anyway, but that's her. And I met this French woman who experienced giving birth in France and then her second child in the States. And she said, yeah, here it's not about the mom at all. In France, you get multiple visits where the PT helps you as the mom. How are you doing as well as the baby? So
Yeah,
it was polar opposite. Which is
it is.
cray. But yeah, you have
I
to
know.
advocate for yourself and make the time. I also think for those people that are like, oh my God, this is so boring, it's also giving you that breath work, that connecting to your body work, the patience work, helping you with your child post labor, being patient, because you can do that breath work like you do stuff in the kitchen all the time. I love it.
Yeah,
But you can add this core work anywhere, waiting in the grocery line. You can fit it in.
yeah,
And I think it helps the nervous system too, because there's always something to pull you out.
right. I mean, it absolutely is true. I mean, we know so many, you know, so many people, you know, so many active people. I know so many active people. And we always see them, after the fact and trying to tell them to tune in beforehand is so hard. And I think you're making some great points about why people should think about doing this and doing it differently. It is more of a quality of life thing. Like we'd survive pregnancy and postpartum without doing this, but the quality of life of the person going through it Like if you're an active person or you want to go back to running or dancing or tennis or even Pilates or strength training, this isn't fundamental. It's like the critical piece of your body is gone. And if you don't have that core connection, and this is something we talk about too, like if you don't have strong core, then shoulder pain, hip pain, foot pain, it's easier for that to pop up on you because the core is such a big absorber of load and a big transfer of load. It really does make you a better, more efficient mover. Like, even if you're an athlete or if you're just a mom carrying a baby who can, easily weigh 10, 20 pounds. I remember I would always see women, you know, they would come in 6 months postpartum with back pain. And I would say, well, how much does your baby weigh? And once that baby crossed 20 pounds and the woman didn't know how to stack and engage their core, that's when they would start to feel back pain because at 20 pounds, like a magic number, now the back is bothering them. The other thing that I think, sorry, and then I'll let you talk, is that like that woman in France. I mean, every person who delivers a baby should be taught how to stand before they leave the hospital, just on 2 feet, stack, so that at least we give our core a chance to come back on and our back a chance and our hips a chance not to get all whacked out from standing all funny, holding a baby and trying to cook a meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even back to, I remember I trained a lady a few years ago, in her 30s, who I showed her 20-pound weight and she didn't want to do squats with it. I'm like, your baby is going to be 20 pounds in like 6 months and you have control over this weight. And so that was a little bit of a reality check. I've had that with a few women of not wanting to hold a heavier weight, but then their life is holding that weight full time, moving all around. And then in a way, I feel like this program could be even for people way post giving birth. So I have my aunt is about 72. She birthed 3 children. Whenever, and she wouldn't mind me talking about her, she's awesome. Whenever she would exhale, it was like she was pooing. She
Mm.
had this pooing down and she would flare her ribs. And she's a gym rat. She has a personal trainer. She's doing deadlifts. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? And she is a great trainer. So we've been really working on her form and her kind of postnatal recovery 30 years later. But she's down for it, but it's so important. And then I also want to bring up you were a PT for one of my friends who was a dancer.
Yes.
And the stacking of the ribs blew her mind. And I had told her, but I hadn't worked with her. And then when she worked with you, she calls me and she's like, oh my, it changes everything. I'm like, yes, it does. So those simple stacking adjustments really, if you're aware, your glutes fire up better, everything fires up better. And
Mhm.
those aha moments are amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we talk about you feeling it, person who designed the program, all the things you felt in your body and how it helped you with labor and delivery. Like, I think, I think, I think it'll help people hear like these real stories, these real moments of just pregnancy is hard, pregnancy is difficult, pregnancy does not leave your body the same. And there are things you can do. Yeah.
And I appreciate you telling me that ahead of time. I remember Diana saying like your midsection will feel like jello. And then I think you said I would not want to be in your shoes the first 2 months of having a baby. But you were the only person that told me that. And I'd rather see the ugly or the hard rather than
Mhm.
have everything bells and whistles. Cause I think it just helps you prepare mentally for the reality.
It's not pretty.
Yeah, it's amazing, but it's
Yeah.
hard and it's beautiful. And I do think, I don't know, everyone's experience post is hard. So the more you can prep before, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else that you wish that a pregnant or postpartum woman could hear from you? Or is there anything else that you would do differently or have done differently in your pregnancy? Don't worry
I feel
about the
like
time.
I would have gotten a massage.
Just one? You didn't get any?
No, I didn't get any
My
massages. I
God.
wish I had done a massage. I remember Emily who is also a founder of Threes Physio, said to enjoy it, enjoy the pregnancy. And I wish I had tapped into that more. Because I remember going to my OB and seeing the bellies and being like, oh my God, that's gone. Because it goes by so fast.
Mhm.
I wish I had gotten more help post labor. I felt so prepped pre labor. I was on fire.
Mhm.
I felt confident, I felt rested, I felt strong, but post-labor, I didn't really prep for that, and I wish I'd hired a doula or someone to help me those first 2 weeks. My parents helped a lot with food, which I highly recommend. If someone can just cook for you or give you meals, do it.
Gosh. Yeah.
I wish I'd asked for more help post. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's wise. I mean, carrying, lifting, moving, cleaning, dishes, bathing, yourself, the baby, cooking, all of those
I
things.
remember
Yeah.
people would be like, "Why are there diapers everywhere?" Like used diapers. And I'm usually pretty like clean and tidy before baby. I was triple feeding. And so I would like try to feed an hour and a half, then I had a half an hour break, and then I'd do it again. It was nutty and don't no longer do that. But I was a mess. I was not good. So ask for help when you need it. Or have people tell you like you're losing your shit. Get it together. Sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't bring me any more onesies or blankets. Just spend an hour cleaning my house.
Well, you know what? I had some friends, I said, "I don't need anything for the baby. We're set." Like, people were way too generous with us, and they sent me a mama care package.
Yeah. That's
And
nice.
that was, like,
Yeah.
just to have someone hold me even though they weren't with me, and then, yeah, the food for sure. I feel like help, food, rest, anyone that can help you with that. But as far as
Oh,
prehab, we're
yeah.
good. I felt really good. I just wish I had done more self-care, maybe a little more meditation. But other than that, I felt the program and my walks kept me really grounded.
All
And
right.
you,
I'm gonna,
talking to people, have that
yes.
community.
Yes. All right. So what I'm going to do offline is I'm going to ask you for your like favorite products if you had them, shoes or creams or lotions, and maybe when I send this out in the newsletter, that'll be something people can find out. Like what were your favorite things to use? And then we'll end it there. So thank you, Annie. So great to talk to you on the other end. What a path. How lucky am I to have been with you through this? Because I know it was something you always wanted to do, not just have a baby, but to deep dive into prenatal fitness. And now you are like the queen of it. And I'm just so thankful that you were sitting down with me, that you're in my life, that you shared all of this with everyone. I'm very grateful for that. So this was just wonderful. Thank you.
Well, right back at you. It's meant to
Mwah.
be.
I will see you soon.
All
Thanks so
right.
much.